Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. It is Wednesday, June 6th, and that means YouTube Premium's new show, Impulse, drops today. And trust me, it is not to be missed, my friends. The show follows Henrietta, or Henry Coles, who, after nearly being raped, discovers that she has telekinetic abilities and can teleport. This world-changing revelation, linked to such a traumatic event, leads to some phenomenal performances and a wildly compelling story. And considering who the executive producer is on this one, it's no surprise that this show expertly grounds its otherworldly sci-fi concepts in a very real way. Man, I love this show. I'm so stoked to talk to these people. Here in just a few moments to tell us all about it, ladies and gentlemen, star of Impulse, Maddie Hasson is here, and executive producer, director, Doug Liman. How about that? Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise. Amazing. So it's going to be a good time. We're going to talk all about the show in just a second. But first, before we bring them out, I believe we've got the trailer. So let's go ahead and run that clip.
I know what it feels like to be the new girl in town.
You're not even trying, Henry.
Why should I?
Henry, you're gonna make me late for school again.
This particular town doesn't do newcomers well.
Clay, can I talk to you?
Come on.
No, wait, I said no. Henry, is that you?
Last night, there was a 911 call from Henry's phone.
Did you know that there are 6 different kinds of generalized seizures? I'm doing some research on the matter.
Help me understand, Henrietta. I want justice done for my son.
Something happened, something really strange.
Hey, I need to talk to you.
You're the last person to see my brother before the accident.
I need your help.
I told you I got this thing handled. I just need you to trust me. Just a broken girl's way causing chaos.
Let go of me!
Where'd she go?
I don't know.
I told you to stop, and you didn't stop.
What you just told me, you can never say to anyone else.
Look, there are things going on here that you don't know about.
Do you think that I can explain this to the police?
What did you say to her? Why is she scared of you?
Henry, you may not be alone.
I'm gonna tell everyone what you are!
No one is going to believe you.
Wow. Guys, let's make some noise for Maddie and Doug right now. Come on. This show's amazing. Wow. What a trailer. Welcome to Bill. Doug, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here and making time to hang out with us. And I said it once, I'll say it a million times. Congratulations on this show. I want to get into it. I want to talk all about it. But first, just how you guys doing? How's press going so far? How are you feeling? Are you excited? Today's the day. Everyone can see it. How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit, I don't know, nervous, but I'm excited. Yeah.
She should be excited because she's awesome in the show.
It's unbelievable.
Like she, it's easier for us to say. I mean, I think she knows she's awesome in the show, but it's easier for me to say it. But she's the perfect person for this role, and she just, she's the reason I'm excited about the show. And this was a world I wanted to go back to for a long time. I wanted to get back into doing something with a superpower and specifically something connected to Jumper. And I'm only excited about Maddie. Like, that all went out the window.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a great place. I hope you don't mind, Maddie. We're going to talk about how amazing you are for the next 25 to 30
That's
minutes.
gonna feel so
Well, you gotta
good
sit
and
right
not
there.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's gonna we also
At
have a
all.
giant picture of just your face we're going to put up to make you feel extra
No,
comfortable.
I love that. You know, I have to walk past that. I walk to the gym at my house in LA. I have to walk past that like every day to get to the gym. Yeah.
What does that feel like? It's not
Weird.
that bad,
It doesn't
right?
feel like me.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
It's so weird. All right,
I don't
want to
know.
get in, that's something I want to explore as well. But Doug, you just mentioned something that I'm really curious about, and that's your desire to come back and sort of explore this world. What was the impetus to sort of come at this idea from a different angle entirely and take another couple of stabs at this?
You know, because I've done a lot of high concept movies, TV shows, and they've always been actually really deeply personal. I mean, it seems crazy to talk about Born Identity and be like, what the hell's personal in that? But it really, it's way more connected to things that are personally meaningful to me than it is to like the book it's based on. And I feel like when I made Jumper, I lost my way a little bit in that I was kind of making, there were a lot of sort of radical ideas I was chasing, but it didn't connect to me personally. Yeah. And I wanted to go back to that world, and the sequel novel was available, and start over from scratch and do something that was big and iconic and sexy with, you know, teleportation, a superpower, and therefore it's a superhero story of sorts.
Somewhat, yeah.
But of sorts, and the of sorts is me, right? It's my version of how I would do superpowers, which is like, you don't necessarily become a better person because you get a superpower. I don't understand why every time, you know, somebody gets a superpower in a Marvel movie, they suddenly become a hero. Yeah. Like, wouldn't you just become whoever you are, just more powerful? And you know, not everybody's all that heroic. I have a sort of darker view of humanity, and I explore that in all my movies. And Henry's the character that Maddie plays is maybe one of the darker characters I've ever done. And I know for you that was a unusual opportunity because, you know, when you look the way she looks, they usually get roles where they want her to be sweet.
They just want to stifle that strength a little bit because you're a young woman. They want you to be likable, which, you know, I don't need to be. No, not at all. Because what's the point?
And as we've already said, but let's elaborate on why we all agree that you're fantastic in this. I think something you do with this role that, as you were saying, Doug, far too often in these superhero things, especially when a point of trauma is used as the catalyst for this power reveal, we never really get to see how that trauma affects the individual or whatever. It's like, oh, now this person can fly, and suddenly they're fighting crime. Yeah. Whereas here, it's like something terrible happens, and we never lose sight of that. You do a phenomenal job of keeping that thread woven throughout. And I'm very curious about how you prepared for that and how you got yourself ready and into that mindset to sort of tell this specific story this way.
Well, as far as you're talking about the assault scene, as far as that being the catalyst for her whole teleportation journey and harnessing her powers, because she learns that she can teleport when she's being assaulted. Those two things are forever linked. So her grappling with her new ability is mirroring her coming to terms with what has happened to her. Yeah. And in preparing for the assault in particular and the scenes that are linked to that follow, I'm met with a therapist that specializes in meeting with assault victims, and I spoke to her at length about what that really feels like and what the consequences are after, and I spoke to her throughout shooting, and I spoke to some people that I know personally who have been assaulted, because I think you live long enough and you realize it's not that uncommon, which is quite sad, which is why a show like this that has the veil of science fiction is so important, because it makes it easier to learn about these real life things.
That's just it, the veil of science fiction. It's not just a great show. It's sci-fi kind of at its best. It's sci-fi that I enjoy most, where the way you're employing it and using it, it's not just a special effects gimmick.
And there's no experts.
No.
Like, it always bugs me when you see movies and TV shows where suddenly there's some person who's like knows all the answers, and I'm like, how could that person possibly know that? You know, and so I love that. You know, it's one of the departures from Jumper is that, you know, Henry's not sort of getting a superpower in a world where there's experts in it. You know, she doesn't, she has to figure out, you know, along with the audience, what this is and what's happening, which is kind of mirrors life. I mean, how many of us actually get exposed to an expert who just tells us, oh, here's what's going on in your life, and here are the answers.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen very often at all. Maddie, another great story that I want to hear both sides on is that Doug mentioned earlier, you were right for the role. You're the one for the role. And I've read that from the beginning, Doug, you've believed that. You only submitted the one audition, and that was for Maddie. I'm curious, do you remember anything about putting that tape down and sending that out? I mean, I know I'm asking, how do you capture lightning in a bottle? But, like, in hindsight, you know, in retrospect, knowing now that Doug saw it and was like, it's got to be her, did anything feel different about it?
When I first read the character, because I went in for an audition with casting, and then I met with some of the producers for a callback, and then I had a screen test, and that was the first time I met Doug. Yeah. And when I first read Henry, I was like, oh God, I love her, and I feel like I could do this so well, but it wasn't mine. And so you just get this like awful sick feeling in your stomach because you're like, what if I mess this up for myself? And I did okay at the audition, I thought, and okay at the callback, and then I did the screen test. And I don't know if you remember, but I was incredibly nervous. I was shaking the whole time, and I got in the car.
You're an actress. You were not showing that.
Well, good, because Gene actually said that he noticed. Anyway, but I got in the car, and I was like, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I am also sometimes clueless.
Yeah, you are. That's true. But in an endearing kind of way. Yeah. Yeah. I thought I didn't get it.
You thought you didn't get it. And meanwhile, on the other side of that coin, Doug, you were like, there it is. She's the one. You were convinced.
Yeah, it was kind of a double-edged sword because I was like, oh my God, she's incredible. Yeah. And she just has that thing. She's just going to capture the screen. Yeah. You know, and I've been exposed to that because I've had really good luck in my career, you know, whether actors coming in who've never done something, you know, haven't really been discovered by the world yet, like Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau and, you know, Matt Damon doing his first starring role in Born Identity, his first like real movie star role, and Maddie just had that. Yeah. But the flip side was I had a different idea for who the character was going to be, and she just brought a totally different energy. So I ended up having a conversation. So there was a moment where you weren't going to get the part, not because you weren't like phenomenal. And honestly, we're like, how do we not cast her? I was like, well, but we'd have to reconceive the show a little bit. And I'm arguing with my producing partner, and we're saying that I said, if we cast Maddie, I'd want to go back and rewrite the script for her because she brings all these qualities, and I'd want Henry to be way more rebellious, and I'd want to see the superpower as a curse, not as a gift. And he was like, wasn't that better? And I was like, you're right, it actually is better. And in fact, because I had been, I was going back to an arena I had done before and felt like I didn't get right, but I didn't necessarily have the answer to how I was going to get it right. And it was in that moment when Dave, my producing partner, said, well, isn't that better? That I was like, oh, this is where this path deviates from Jumper and where I get it right this time.
How often has that ever happened to you, where you've encountered someone, a performer, an actor, that is so compelling that you've got to readjust the whole approach to what you're working on and say,
well, Matt Damon and Born Identity, we were actually already shooting the movie at that point when he did something, and I was like, that's it. And he was like, what's it? I'm like, well, you just did. He's like, I don't know what I just did. I was like yawning. I'm like, no, that was like the key to the character. He was like, I wasn't even paying attention. Took us forever to get back to that. And I was like, and then we rewrote and reconceived so many things based on that. And, you know, in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you know, I sort of discovered, I always wanted it to be a romantic comedy, but I didn't really discover what Brad and Angie sort of, how they were going to do humor until we started shooting. And then it sort of clicked. There was like a moment on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like the third week in, where Brad Pitt's frog marching up to the house, and I was like, that's the tone of the movie. That's it right there. So it was kind of stressful for everybody else that we were rewriting the script, you know, with the looming start date. But for me, you know, the fact that it happened in an audition and not a rehearsal or on the set while we were shooting it, it happened, you know, a decent, you know, like what, 5 weeks out was like amazing because we had the time to really capitalize on the amazing gifts that Maddie brings to the screen. And then you're just doing the pilot there. Yeah. And I really, you know, pilot's so personal to me. I love it. And then from there, when it gets picked up to go to series, you know, showrunner comes in and it gets on a whole other life. And Lauren LaFranc came in to be the showrunner, and she came off a Marvel series, which I can't remember which one. I was hoping you were going to bail me out there.
Look at me.
You didn't? Okay.
Wait. No.
But it was our first time
Sorry,
being
Lauren.
a showrunner, and like it was. She took what we had started with Maddie and just took it to a whole other level.
Maddie, when you were doing that audition, did you think as an actress that you were making big choices or taking big swings with the character, or that they would then see and go, oh, we've got to move everything? Or was it just how you internalized it, how you felt, and you were just doing what was sort of intuitive to you?
You know, I don't think I think about the choices that I'm making, because if I did, it would take me out of it. But what I did really like about Henry from the start is that she has a very different physical posture from me. You know, she has like a wider stance, and she like slouches a little bit, and she walks in with this like confidence that is in a way like typically kind of masculine, and I loved that about her. I don't know, so as far as choices go, that was something that really helped me get into it in the beginning.
For sure. You know, Doug, as a big fan personally of Edge of Tomorrow and Go and a lot of the stuff you've done, there is a distinctly like Doug Liman tone to that pilot that you guys direct. And actually, you made it. But it's wonderful to watch and see that vibe. On this platform, this long-winded question is going towards how much does the destination, the viewing platform, sort of inform your decisions as a director? Because we open with this huge cinematic sequence, and then we kind of get really granular and come down to Maddie and then flip on a switch. I'm wondering if you think of that when you're in the moment and framing things up of, this is going to be in a theater in front of a couple hundred people, this is going to be anywhere from someone's TV to their phone. Is that something you think of?
You do think about... I mean, unfortunately, even with a movie, a lot of times people are going to, you know, end up, you know, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I saw your movie on the airplane," or so it's already you have to think about the small screen today. I mean, you have to design something that is such an event. It really has to be seen. Like there has to be a reason to go to the big screen, and you know, I'm really interested in characters in extraordinary situations, and I also love, you know, huge, you know, stunts and fireworks and special effects, but first and foremost, I love character, and a small screen, you know, lends itself to really getting inside. In the case of Impulse, the you know, the screwed up family dynamics between Henry and that Missy Pyle who plays her mother, and the dynamics. You know, there's an amazing sort of troika of Maddie and her sort of half sister, right? Because she's moved in. Her mother totes her around from like city to town because she keeps dating different guys, and they just move in with them, and you know, it clearly doesn't ever last all that long. And the man they're living with this time, you know, has a daughter about Henry's age, and so she kind of has a sister, but you know, they don't really know what to make of each other, and everything about this world lived up to kind of the the goal I set for myself, which was I wanted a world that would be fascinating and riveting to watch before you add the superpower. And that's, that's the connection. Swingers, obviously, you watch a whole 2-hour movie, there's no superpower. Go, you watch a 2-hour movie, there's no superpower. And then there are things like Born Identity, which have a superpower basically coexisting with characters that are compelling, even if there wasn't a superpower. And I wanted Impulse to live in that world.
Yeah. No, and it does. It's beautiful. It's that's what I mean by it. It's my favorite kind of sci-fi. Of that, the story's amazing before you even pepper in the occasional teleportation and special effect. Like it's so good. You mentioned Missy Pyle. She's fantastic. And then in the trailer, you guys were talking about Daniel Maslany. He's amazing in this. Talk a little bit more about the cast in this. Everybody is on the top of their game. It's so great. What was it like working with them?
Missy's hilarious, as you would expect from watching her past work, because that's sort of how I knew her, as like a comedic actress or like a character actor. But in this show, it's a total departure of what she's done in the past. She's really like a riveting, dramatic actress, and she is just very, very raw and was like completely open and connected the whole time. So doing scenes with her was really easy. Daniel Maslany is wildly talented, and he plays a character who's growing up in high school with autism, and him and Henry sort of create this unlikely friendship because she doesn't want to be friends with anyone. And Sarah Desjardins plays Jenna Hope, who is kind of her sister, not really, but you know what I mean? Totally. And they're forced into this friendship.
They share a bathroom, and and it's they don't really they're. It's not a situation that's going to make the two girls like each other.
Not at all.
But you know what? I think even though they're so different, there's parts of Jenna that Henry really likes and wants to be able to have, like the way that she loves and how open she is and how caring she is, and she wants to be able to be that way. And there are parts of Henry that Jenna wants to have, like her I don't give a kind of attitude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it over to the audience in just a second. We've got a couple of questions out there, but there are two things that I want to ask about. Maddie, one, this role was an opportunity for you to play these strengths and play this type of character that typically people wouldn't see when they look at you. Are you now, having done this, what are you looking for next? What kind of characters are you hoping this may be open?
Season 2.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Season 2.
Season 2.
No, we're getting a season 2. I'm kidding. I can't say that. But I did. Who knows what I'm
we're
going to
give
next.
you one, right, Internet? There we go. Everybody watch the show. There we go.
I just want to keep doing things that are different and challenging, and I don't want to get stuck doing similar, roles.
For sure. Doug, I would be remiss not to ask any updates on Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat?
We're actively working on the script, only a few blocks from here.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Super exciting, man. Yeah, you talk about this show kind of being an opportunity to revisit Jumper and all that. I know on Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, one of the things you loved was that you got to shoot scenes over and over and kind of refine as you went. As you're going into this next one, do you find yourself doing a similar thing of like, all right, we already did that a million times, like, but now I can refine it even more and keep polishing this diamond, like?
No, in a way, we sort of find ourselves reliving the day, because we're like, oh my God, didn't we have this argument years ago? And we're doing, it's history's repeating itself. Once you get back into it, it is so meta. Time travel just will screw with your head.
Yeah, man. Well, there's so much fun to watch. I can imagine it's a blast to make those movies, dude. I look forward to it. All right, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, guys. We got some questions out there. Microphones to start. First one right here in the green couch, it looks like.
Hey, guys. I was just wondering, what was the decision behind putting this on YouTube as a platform for the series?
Well, YouTube started to become very much a part of my process of making films because, I like doing action movies and I like doing action that's very realistic. I've had good fortune of working with Tom Cruise twice, so, he insists he doesn't even have a stunt double. Almost every other movie star has, they just have a stunt double they come with. And Tom Cruise doesn't even have one. And nobody does more action movies than Tom Cruise. But the benchmark that I've started using for myself, is not other movies. It's become YouTube, right? Because you watch crazy shit on YouTube, you know, of people filming themselves just doing outrageous stunts, and it's real. And I'm like, I want to capture that on screen. So YouTube has become a part of my process of making films and TV shows. And so in the case of Impulse, you know, I wanted something, I realized that I wanted to do something that was like really personal, almost felt like an independent movie meets, you know, a superpower. And YouTube it's nothing but independent filmmakers. And yet it's also like one of the biggest corporations in the world, so it also has the sort of that glossy veneer. So it really made sense that Impulse, like what I wanted to do with Impulse, it tonally was perfect for YouTube.
Yeah. That was a great question. Thank you for that. How many? We got one more? I'm getting the signal. We're going to do one more. Oh, here we are.
Hi.
Hi.
So I read that even though this is in the Jumper universe, you don't really reference it in the show. In season 2, would you like to maybe reference it or possibly expand on the Jumper universe?
It's a different, I wanted to create a different universe, you know, and sort of start from scratch and not be limited by anything I'd done before. It's different characters and really different rules. And if you look at even how the teleportation is portrayed, it's, you know, it's really messy and dirty and all these, you know, I started to, again, I said like, it's a superhero story, but it's way more personal. And I start to think about myself, and I just was filming in China, and I decided to take like a dumpling making class, you know, and because that's as you do in China.
As you do, yeah.
You know, when I wasn't taking ping pong lessons at night, and you know, they make these perfect little dumplings, and then they hand you the dough, and you make a total mess of it, and they're like, no, look, it's so easy, and I'm like, okay, well, you've been making dumplings for 30 years, like, and you know, if you've been doing dumplings for 30 years, they're neat and perfect. And if you're just learning, they're just a big, ugly mess. And I thought, like, I want the teleportation to be a big, ugly mess. In fact, and then you get story from it because, as you can see in the trailer, the first time she teleports, there's somebody in the car with her, and he's gravely wounded. Yeah. And he's going to start to become a significant factor in the series. And so I'm already just, you know, you asked about Jumper. I've already sort of, the train's just headed off in a different direction.
But you know what? The universe does expand. You see that there are other people. She's not the only person with this power. And it does expand in a big way by the end of the season.
Well, thank you for that question, by the way. That's what's so great about that pilot and the way it opens up is you do immediately get the sense of how big this world's going to be, and then you dial it all the way back, and we start at the very beginning, and we meet Henry, and we kind of go through, and it's just such a fun ride. You said it was a passion project. You said the projects you work on are typically passion projects. You can feel it. Every ounce of this, you can feel it in your performance, guys. It's a phenomenal show. I'm getting this thing. I got to wrap up here, but I love this show. Thank you for making it. Congratulations
it's on YouTube now.
It's on YouTube right now on YouTube Premium. You got to go check it out.
The first 3 episodes are free.
First 3 are free. Can't beat that. Nothing's free these days. Make some noise, please, for Impulse from Maddie and Doug right here, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.